And we're going to start off a little easier today for some of the folks out there. For others, maybe not so much. Arkansas at Memphis. Really intriguing SEC, AAC, right? American Athletic. Yeah. Matchup that I think has a little bit of a trap game written on it for the Razorbacks. Arkansas is 2-1. They go to Memphis, sitting there in Bluff City, kind of back in my hometown backyard. Memphis Tigers are at 3-0. And this is the second straight road game for Arkansas. It's actually, I think, the first meeting between these two programs since about 98. And it's funny because they're not that far from one another. And it's unusual for Arkansas to be the one going on the road to play this game. It's unusual for an SEC team. The Hogs are favored in this matchup, but not by a lot. Let me see what Vegas has them at. Arkansas -7.5 currently. As you can see here on screen, my model, the pre-cap model, is picking this a little differently. I'm going to break down why that is. So ESPN's FPI is giving Arkansas roughly a 60% chance to win. My model is completely flipped. My model actually likes Memphis in this game. By the way, if you're not watching on YouTube, please come join us on YouTube in video format so you can see these graphics. The pre-cap likes Memphis with a 62.2% chance to win in this game by approximately a 4-point margin. So less than a touchdown. Okay. Let me make this a little bit bigger here. Talk about kind of what this means. So in my model, when I just share these graphics on Twitter, a lot of people don't know how to interpret this, right? So let me just walk you through it real quickly here for this first one. And I won't do this for every single matchup today. But when you see this, my model predicts for the home team. Okay. So in this case, Memphis is the home team. It's predicting for Memphis. So you'll see the win probability for the home team and the away team. And then you'll also see the projected margin. That projected margin is not a spread. It's not a betting spread. I'm not trying to draw in betting action on both sides of this. This is just a point margin that my model predicts the home team will either win or lose by. In this case, it's giving Memphis a 62.2% win probability by a margin of 4.1 points. Okay. And a lot of that is based on these statistical edges, these key edges, right? Where if this value is positive on the edges, it favors the home team. So offensively, these are things like EPA per rush. That's expected points added per rush. These are efficiency metrics. Okay. Efficiencies do not lie. Efficiencies, especially by about week 5 or 6, will tell you who the overrated and underrated teams are respectively relative to league averages. EPA per drop back, right? Passing downs, EPA on early downs, EPA on explosiveness. That's 90th percentile. Field position, third and fourth down success rate deltas. On the defensive side, pressure and havoc rate deltas. Those are game swinging, momentum swinging plays, right? Offensive EPA overall, defensive EPA overall, success rate, overall offensive delta. So all of these have different weights, I guess, in how they model. These are not all weighted evenly. And in fact, these aren't direct correlations. These are decision splits. So what the model looks at is it starts to split the win outcome, all right, home team, away team, what the conditions were, and which deltas, which decision splits factor the most heavily into that. And so when you see that, like, key edges here, positive favors home, more of these edges are negative, which should in fact favor Arkansas, right? At least the way we would normally interpret it. But the model is picking up on some different stuff here in all of the advanced stats that it's factoring in. So despite Arkansas seeming to have a weighted advantage in more of these key edge deltas, the differences between these for both teams, the model is still favoring Memphis. And let me tell you why that is. Put my mug back on screen here. I posted this on X yesterday that in week 2, when Arkansas went to Ole Miss, Arkansas had the slightly better, we'll say better for lack of a better term, offense, more explosive offense, right? But defensively, Ole Miss was just kind of an SEC league average defense through 2 weeks. Yes, it was at Ole Miss, but that defensive difference, the defensive delta, was the difference in that game. Look at the defensive delta here for Arkansas at Memphis. That defensive EPA delta favors Memphis, okay? Um, Again, go look this up on Twitter. I'm not going to pull it up on screen here just because there's too much to get through in this episode today. But Memphis and Ole Miss were roughly identical in week 2 in defensive EPA in all of FBS. Now Arkansas, coming off of a very similar road loss at Ole Miss, has to travel to Memphis, second road game, and face what is a very good, very, very good G5 defense. One of the better G5 teams in the league, to be honest. They beat Troy, they beat Chattanooga. I forget who their third game was, but they've only allowed double-digit points, I think, in one of those 3 games, and they're winning by 20-point margins. Okay. So I think this is a slept on matchup that if you're just looking at what ESPN is giving you and seeing that Arkansas has a 60% chance to win based on the FPI, you're missing a lot of nuance in this game. To me, this is a big time trap game for the Razorbacks. My model likes Memphis, and I am actually picking Memphis at home for the upset in this game. Now, my wife, who is an Arkansas fan, would not like me saying that, right? But I'm going to go with the pre-cap model on this one. Now, don't be surprised if this game comes down to the final possession. I think a one-score game in the fourth quarter would be right in line with like ESPN's projection. The Hogs are favored by a touchdown. So based on my model, I would be taking Memphis, obviously, to cover that and win outright. But I think this could be a very hostile and motivated Memphis team. This is a very veteran defense for Memphis. Again, like I said, I think it has upset alert written all over it. What does it mean for Sam Pittman and, the coaching personnel there at Arkansas? I don't know. That's really kind of outside of my wheelhouse. I'm more of a numbers guy. I just look at statistical matchups. I don't dive too heavily into rosters. I do more roster and player stats on my recap episode following every weekend. So when I'm just predicting matchups, I'm really just kind of looking at these statistical edges. Taylor Green is obviously fantastic. I don't think that they can put every game on his shoulders. Back-to-back road games, very similar defenses. This is a very good Memphis defense, even though it is an AAC or a G5 team. Do not sleep on Memphis in this game. I am picking Memphis for the upset in this matchup. All right. Probably pissed a lot of people off on that one at the start.